This tutorial is many hours of socialization, patience, and persistence condensed into about 8 minutes. Clearly, Liam's progress did not happen in 8 minutes. It was just over 2 weeks where we saw some major breakthroughs, and we sometimes spent hours a day with him. I still believe that even if you do not have that much time, you can make progress with a fearful or under-socialized cat. It just might take longer. Liam was born outside at a local resort here in Sedona. His mom had 5 kittens. 3 of his siblings and his mom were trapped and rescued last year, but Liam and one of his other siblings evaded rescue. For months we tried trapping them, but they became very trap savvy. This is where Liam and his siblings were living, in this wilderness behind the resort. Tourists kept them well fed, and we got many calls about the 2 cats hanging out at Sedona Summit. They would often sleep and hide in these rocks with the skunks. Unfortunately, we believe his sibling was killed. After that, Liam rescued himself and walked into one of the rooms after being lured by a tourist. We finally got him to our shelter. Not all cats want or need to be rescued. As advocates, we need to put the cat's best interest first. This tutorial is not about taming a feral cat, because true feral cats should not be interfered with beyond TNR. Even some friendly or fearful strays prefer their life outdoors. Here's a quick before and after video of Liam. When he first arrived, he acted quite feral, running around, banging into windows, and climbing the walls. He was not at all used to human touch. Once we got him in an appropriate space and had a solid behavior plan, this was the result. So how did we get there? Of course, there are so many variables and steps in socializing a very frightened cat, but this is what worked for Liam. Step 1, create a low-stress room. Step 2, establish your presence in that room. Step 3, make contact with the cat. Step 4, find what their motivation is. Step 5, enable socialization through that motivation, and then reinforcement. Step 1, setting up a low-stress room. Some people believe that in order to properly socialize a cat, you need to have them be confined. I believe the opposite. When a cat has more space and is able to freely move about the room without feeling trapped, they build trust and confidence faster. They are then able to consent to interacting with you without being forced. I designed this room to have lots of hiding places in various places. I included 2 tall cat trees, which I covered with blankets. Cat trees are extremely important for building a cat's confidence and comfort. We want cats to feel big and powerful, not small and weak. Step 2, establish your presence in the room, meaning just walk in and sit down. Don't look for the cat or make any contact with them just yet. I started with walking in and talking softly to Liam, letting him know I was there. I sat and meditated for 20 minutes. It wasn't until after about 45 minutes that I looked to see where he was hiding. The next step is to find where they're hiding and sit next to them. Don't fully uncover them unless you've been there for about 20 minutes. Then you can slowly begin to uncover them. Please remember to be patient. I only started to uncover Liam because his body language was telling me it was okay to do so. You may be on step 2 for a few days or even a week, and that's okay. Pushing a cat too fast, too soon can set you back. Remember, we are building trust and an emotional bond. The next day, I did the exact same thing, except now Liam was hidden in a place where I could see him without moving anything. I sat nearby, but sat sideways to him. Facing him with a full frontal can seem aggressive. I now was able to look at him and give him slow blinks while talking to him, waiting patiently for slow blinks in return, which I got. His body language made me feel comfortable enough to go on to the next step.
Boys, can you give me the love look? Oh, thank you.
Step 3, make contact. I generally always make contact using a long string or wand toy to try and engage in some play. It started with him ignoring the toy, then tracking the toy with his eyes, and then grabbing the toy with his mouth. I always verbally praise any engagement, even if it's very slight. If the cat seems comfortable enough, I will try to engage with a pointer finger greeting without further petting him. I used the string toy for some time, and once he grew more comfortable in my presence, I was able to make contact using treats. I am giving Liam treats with very low expectations. I am simply asking that he allow me in his space and reinforce with treats and verbal praise. Through making contact with Liam, I am figuring out what he likes and doesn't like, which leads us to step 4. Find their motivation. When a cat is treat motivated, making progress is so much easier. I realize that not all cats are treat motivated, but there has to be something they like. You just need to find it. Maybe it's playing, maybe it's pets, maybe it's wet food, baby food, or tuna. For Liam, his motivation were treats, playing, and verbal praise. Step 5. Socializing through reinforcement. Now that I have found his main motivation is treats, I give him treats for just coming out of hiding and being near me. I am not making any attempts to pet him. We need to be predictable, which in turn creates trust. The next day, I introduce something new, a brush, which acts as an extension of my hand. In the beginning, I keep it simple. He smells it and I reward. We build from that to actual contact with the brush. Reinforcement must be given immediately after the stimulus, which is what you are asking of the cat. Once he is more comfortable with the brush, I am able to sneak the touch of a finger in. When I upped the request, I provided an immediate reward, but gave him more than one treat. I tried to move him further, and he let me know he wasn't ready with a swat. Swatting isn't something we want to encourage, but we also don't want to punish. This is how cats communicate, and it's up to us to recognize these nonverbal cues so we stop what we are doing before the swat happens. Liam takes us to the next step on his own, direct contact. He is rubbing on my legs, and I just make my arm available while also continuing to use the brush. I noticed that Liam is still a little wary of bare hands, so I covered my hands with my sleeves and put them at a level he could choose to touch on his own. I am not moving my hands, but allowing him to control and to consent to touch. The next step is to slowly move your covered hands and be a bit more active in your touch. You may notice that I either drop the treat from higher up or tap it on the floor for 2 reasons. 1, it keeps a distance from my hand and his mouth. 2, it creates a clicking sound I will use later in further socialization and training. After using covered hands for some time, I was able to start with a covered hand and then release my fingers for petting. I tried to move him further by starting with an open hand pet, and he immediately communicates that he is not ready, and I immediately go back to a covered hand and reinforce. Soon I am able to just have my fingers visible while petting, pushing him to that next level, and then immediately reinforcing. Another tip is placing treats where you want the cat to be, for instance in your lap. I tried petting him while he was in my lap, but his body language said no, so I backed off and rewarded him for the lap sit. Eventually, we got to completely uncovered hands for petting, while realizing that Liam is still a work in progress and may revert to his old behaviors, and that's okay. We need to ebb and flow with him. Every time I entered the room with Liam, I had to rebuild that rapport with him, so I never went into the room with bare open hands in the beginning. I started with covered and worked my way up. It's good to vary your reinforcement so they don't get bored. I reintroduce play as a motivator. Not every cat will have such a dramatic result as Liam, but every cat does deserve the chance. We were able to achieve this level of progress using only non-invasive techniques. There was never any sort of force or flooding techniques done. He chose to engage in every interaction, and because we enabled him to have consent and confidence, that's super important. We were able to make Liam available for adoption in just over 2 weeks. This is Liam's final assessment before we make him available for adoption. Huh?
You're so cute. Look at you. Look at you.
About a month after arriving in our care, Liam found his loving home. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and share our videos. All cats deserve a chance like Liam to find their loving home, and our goal is to help cats all over the world do just that.